and welcome. And today I'm inviting you to join me in a yin yoga practice. And this is part of the Gila River Healthcare Cares team for our valued employees who are working so hard during COVID-19. I hope this brings you a little relief from the stress and the fatigue, and I hope you enjoy yourself. If you've never participated in a yin yoga practice before, I just want to share a couple of pointers with you. Yin yoga focuses on the joints in the body versus the muscles. So it's a little bit different approach to yoga. Fewer poses, we'll hold them for a longer period of time, and not as much movement. So once we get into a shape, we tend to stay there for a while and really stretch out the joint and the ligaments versus the muscles. We're going to use our yoga pattern breath today, which will be inhaling through the nose and then exhaling through the nose. And inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose. And typically in a yoga practice, the breath is what guides your movement. And if you want to go into a deeper stretch, it's a little bit easier to do that on an exhale. So let's go ahead and get started. As in any yoga practice, we're going to take a look at our alignment. So while we're in a seated shape, we're going to pay attention to the crown of the head and the tailbone. So that space between the crown and the head, between the crown of the head, and the tailbone. Nice long line. Those shoulders are back down away from the ears and our hips are nice and square. We're going to begin with our breath. So we're going to do that pattern breath of taking a breath in through the nose. And then as you exhale, you're just going to lower your chin to your chest. And that's as much tension as you should ever feel on your neck. So if at any point today in this practice it gets a little bit more tense than what you're feeling now, just back off a little bit. Taking an inhale and coming back into a neutral position, and then exhaling, let that chin drop to the chest. One more time, inhaling, coming up into a neutral position, and then exhaling, lowering the chin to the chest. Beautiful, beautiful job. Let's bring our head back into a neutral position. And we'll go ahead and move into our first forward bend. So we're going to uncross our legs, taking the right leg out and the left leg out. And what's more important than the distance between the legs is that alignment. So if you have to compromise your posture, or if you have to compromise the squareness in your hips for putting more distance between your feet, it's better to have less space between the feet and to have that nice square posture between the shoulders and the hips. If you want to, you're welcome to use a block. Some people prefer to use a block for a prop. If you don't need a block, that's fine. I'm going to use this particular stretch. I'm going to show you how to do it with the block. And then as we move out through the practice, I'll be using them just to show you what modifications look like. So for our very first stretch, let's keep a lot of flexibility in the knees. You never want to lock out the knees in any stretch. We're going to take a big inhale, lifting those arms up over your head. And right before you exhale, you're going to twist over to the right side and fold down. Tucking your chin to your chest. And perhaps you'll use your block to rest your head on. And once you get into this particular shape, paying attention to that left hip. We don't want that left hip coming up off the earth in order to stretch, have the head come closer to the block. So let's inhale. And then exhaling through the nose. And inhaling. And one more round, yogis. Inhale. And then exhale. Beautiful, beautiful job. On that next inhale, let's lift up the head. And we'll move over to the other side. So we're going to place our block over on the left side. Taking that big breath in, and right before you exhale, twisting over to the left side, and now folding forward. So you're still tucking your chin to your chest, and perhaps your forehead will land on your block. Paying attention to the right hip now, that right hip is anchored to the earth. And inhaling. Oh, and just exhale. And inhale. Oh, exhaling. And one more time, yogis. Inhale. Oh, exhaling. Beautiful job. On the inhale, lifting up your head, coming back to center, and now we're going to place the block in the center. So this will be another forward fold, just using the same technique, inhaling, and as you exhale, just folding forward. So you're tucking your chin to your chest, and now the crown of the head is going straight out in front of you, forehead is reaching towards your block. And as you inhale, think about all those things that you want to attract. Maybe you want to attract some peace. Maybe you want to attract relaxation. And as you exhale, it's the perfect time to let go of fatigue, let go of stress. So as you inhale, taking in all those things you want to attract, as you exhale, just letting go of everything that no longer serves you. So inhaling, exhaling. Beautiful job. On the inhale, let's lift up our foreheads. We'll take that block out to the side for now. And we're going to meet up into all fours. So however that works for you, you can take your legs either to the left or to the right, and we're going to land in all fours on our mats. So coming into all fours, you want to line the shoulders up over the wrists, hips are lined up over the knees, and you want to take up as much space on the mat as possible. So spread out your fingers, spread out your hands as if they could take up the entire mat. And think about those 4 points, right below the pinky finger, right before the index finger, and then the 2 corners on the heel of your hand. So fingers are stretched out, and we're going to move into a back stretch called cat-cow. So on the inhale, your seat is going to tilt, and you're going to lead with your chest as your belly goes towards the earth. As you exhale, you're going to tuck your chin to your chest, your navel to your spine as you arch your spine. As you inhale, tilting the seat, lifting the chest, belly goes towards the earth. And as you exhale, rounding that spine, tucking your chin to chest, navel to spine. And one more time, yogis. Inhaling, tilting the seat, leading with the chest. And as you exhale, rounding that spine, tucking your chin to chest, navel to spine. Coming into a neutral position, we're going to go into child's pose. And child's pose is a resting pose. And at any point in the yoga practice that your body is asking you for a rest, I encourage you to honor it and go right into child's pose. So we're going to take a big breath in. And as you exhale, you're just going to lower your seat to your heels, and perhaps the crown of your head will aim straight, and your forehead will land on the mat. Taking a big breath here. Just exhaling. And one more time, yogis. Inhale. Coming back into all fours, we're going to make our way into downward facing dog. So be sure that your shoulders haven't shifted and your shoulders are lined up over your wrists. We're going to curl those toes under. And as you start your inhale, you're just going to start to lift your seat up to the heavens. And perhaps your heels will reach the earth and your ears are going to land by your biceps. This is downward facing dog. Great stretch. Keep the knees flexed. And we're going to stay here for 2 breaths. So inhaling. And exhaling. Inhale. And exhale. Now as you start your very next inhale, let's start to walk our feet to meet our hands, or the hands to meet the feet, however that works for you. And on your next inhale, let's lift those hands up over our heads. Palms will meet at the top of the inhale, and on the exhale, press center. Beautiful. We're going to move into a sequence on the right side, and then we'll repeat the sequence on the left side. So hands can be in prayer center, or if you get a better sense of balance with your hands by your side, that's a really good choice. I like to work with prayer center. We're going to take that right foot out to the right side of the mat. Left foot is going to come to the left side of the mat. So in this particular shape, hips are squared, the knees and the toes are pointing in the same direction, but knees are not locked. Remember, we're never going to lock our knees in a yoga practice. Those joints just aren't made for that much tension. So keeping your knees flexed, roll those shoulders back down away from the ears. That crown of the head, that nice alignment between the crown of the head and the tailbone. Coming into prayer center, we're going to move into a pyramid stretch. So as we inhale, those arms will come above our head. And as you exhale, you're just going to fold over that right side. So we did this stretch seated when you had the block by your knee. Coming into this stretch, let's take a big breath here. Just exhale. And inhale. And exhale. As you start that very next inhale, let's bring those hands back above your head. And as you exhale, coming into prayer center. So coming out of that shape, we're going to move into a low lunge. So this is a fun one. You're going to plant your foot in the right foot in the middle of your mat. Those hips are squared again to the top of your mat. Your hands can either be in that prayer center pose, or if you get a better sense of balance here, really good idea. And you're just going to make your way down to your mat with a little baby step at a time with that left foot. Now as that left foot starts to move behind you, the knee will eventually make it to your mat. Beautiful, you've now into low lunge. So if you need to adjust, that's a really good idea. The knee should line up over the ankle, and you should feel a big stretch in this left thigh. So coming back into prayer center, we're going to stay here for 3 breaths. So inhaling, and exhaling, and inhale, and exhale. And one more time, yogis, inhale, and exhaling. One more big stretch on the right side. Release your hands. Fingertips are going to come to your mat. And you're going to start to straighten that right leg. And as you start to straighten that right leg, those right toes are going to peel off your mat. And as you start to do that, perhaps your seat will reach that left heel. If not, however far you get is absolutely perfect. Coming back into this position, let's stay here for 1 round of breath. Inhaling. And as you start that very next inhale, let's start to return those right toes to the mat. We're going to move into child's pose. Take that right leg back to meet the left. And on your exhale, just going into child's pose.
and resting, releasing judgment about the position. Remember on the inhale, thinking about all those things you want to attract. And on your exhale, just letting go of anything that no longer serves you. As you start that very next inhale, let's come back into all fours. And we'll do this sequence on the other side. So remember downward facing dog to get us to standing. Spreading out those hands, making sure your shoulders are lined up over your wrists. Hips are lined up over your knees. Curling those toes under. And as you start that inhale, you're just going to lift your seat up to the heavens. And if your heels reach the earth, that's great. If not, no big deal. Ears are going to land by your biceps. And taking 2 rounds of breath here. So inhaling. And exhaling. And inhale. And exhale. And as you start that next inhale, let's walk the feet and the hands to meet each other. Start that next inhale, lifting up, and on the exhale, landing in prayer center. So we'll set up for pyramid pose on the left side. So that left foot's going to come out to the left side of the mat. The right foot about 1.5 to 2 feet behind on the left side of the mat. Your hips are pointing forward. Knees and toes are going in the same direction. Shoulders are back down away from the ears. And as we take that big inhale, exhaling and just folding over that left thigh. So just folding over. We'll stay here for a couple of breaths. So inhaling through the nose. And exhaling. Inhale. And as you start that next inhale, you can lift those arms above the head. And as you exhale, press center. Beautiful. Let's come into our low lunge on the left side. So we're going to plant that left foot in the middle of our mat. And again, if you want to be in prayer center, great. Hands by your side, however that works for you. And once that foot is stable and in balance there, you're just going to start to inch that right leg back. And just little tiny inches back. And eventually that right knee is going to land on the mat. And we've now come into low lunge on the left side. So go ahead and adjust if you need to. That left knee should be lining up over the left ankle. If you want a deeper stretch, you can take that right leg and move it back. Should have a nice deep stretch in that right leg. And we're going to stay here for a couple rounds of breath. So inhaling. And exhale. Inhale. And exhaling. Beautiful, beautiful job. As you release the hands, perhaps your fingertips will make their way to your mat. We're going to do that straight leg stretch on the left side. So we're going to start to straighten that left leg. Those left toes are going to peel up off your mat. And if your seat reaches your right heel, that's great. If not, wherever you land is absolutely perfect. And once we get here, let's take one round of breath here. So we'll inhale. And exhale. And as you start that inhale, those right toes will return to the mat. You're going to take that right leg back to meet the left and landing in child's pose. Coming into child's pose for a rest. You certainly deserve it after all of that. Inhaling and exhaling at your own pace. On an inhale, lifting up our heads And we're going to make our way into recline position. So however that works for you, we're all going to meet up in recline position on our mats. So while we're in recline position, we're going to talk again about that alignment. Shoulders are squared, hips are squared, and to align the crown of the head with the tailbone, find that spot on the back of your head that you can rest where you have that nice straight line. So from the crown of your head to your tailbone, whether you are seated, standing, or reclining, should be a nice straight line. Should not have to compromise the integrity of your posture at all in any yoga pose. And as you inhale, just bringing your knees into your chest. So you did a fantastic job today. A lot of big hip openers. And sometimes after hip openers, a little compression feels good. So to put any tension and make this stretch a little deeper, you can put some pressure on your shins, never on your knees, but put some pressure on your shins and maybe rock side to side. And when you return to stillness, we're going to lower the feet to the earth, and we have one more stretch before we go into our final resting pose. We're going to go into recline pigeon this afternoon. So we're going to cross that right leg over the left, and now that right ankle is going to rest on that left thigh. That right foot is flexed. This is a great hip opener. If you want to stay right here, it's a really good choice. If you want to add some intensity to the shape, you can take your hands and clasp your hands behind that left thigh and pull that left thigh towards you. Remember that right foot is flexed. You're pulling that left thigh towards your body. Oh, awesome stretch. Let's go ahead and take a big breath in. Oh, and just exhale. And one more time, yogis, inhaling. Oh, and just exhaling. Beautiful job. Go ahead and lower that left foot to the earth. Uncross the right. Maybe you want to take a few rounds of that windshield wiper pose just to break it up a bit. And now crossing that left leg over the right. So now that left foot is flexed, and you can stay right here. This is a really good hip opener. The intensity comes from taking your hands and clasping your hands behind that right thigh and pulling that right thigh towards you while that left foot is flexed. Staying here for 2 rounds of breath, so inhaling, and exhaling, and inhale, and exhaling. Beautiful job. You can lower that right foot to the earth and cross the left if you need to take a couple rounds. And we're going to move into final resting pose. So in yoga, the final resting pose is often referred to as Shavasana. And it's a very important pose because this is where you let go of everything. You let go of any physical hold that you have. You let go of your posture. You let go of the pattern breath. But most important, you let go of the thoughts. So release any thoughts that you have about how you did. Release any thoughts you have about, did you do the pose right? How did you look? All of that just needs to go away and just simply relax for the next couple of moments. And as you awaken, we can meet back up into seated shape. Right where we began. Bringing your hands into prayer center. We'll take one more breath together. And exhaling.